Yeah, I did it. Yeah, it was just 3 All right. All right. We are live. Happy Saturday, everybody. We are a little late today. I will say I am because it's one of those chaos days living in the city of Flint. But my name is Melissa Mays, and welcome to our community update. I am a Flint resident, founder of What Are You Fighting For, going back to January of 2015, and I'm operations manager of Flint Rising, along with Naira Sharif, who's our director, and Gina Lester, our lead organizer. I am here with Mickey, who is my producer and who runs everything 810 News Media Group, who was kind enough to give me my own show, or crazy enough. Either way, it is the chaos hour. It seems to be with me. It's an overcast, kind of rainy day in Flint, and we've had a chaotic week. And if you've been watching the 810 News Media Group, there's been a lot of updates because there's been a lot of news. And once again, just to start off the day, there's a lot going on, and it's important that the residents of Flint and those who support us, who maybe don't live here, um, get to hear updates from us, by us. Because again, this is news for us, about us, with us running the show, giving the updates from our perspective and without any kind of spin from those who be in power and not be fixing the problems. So, so welcome again, Melissa Mays here, and it's been a busy week. So we're gonna try to get into it. I kind of have the way my ADHD brain goes is it pulls at little strings that are kind of hanging out there. It's one of the curses, but yet gifts of the Flint water crisis, and what helped me actually pull evidence together to help expose in 2015, expose what was going on, along with a group of amazing, the Coalition for Clean Water, Democracy Defense League of Flint, Caution, and just a whole lot of concerned citizens, concerned pastors for social action, and several concerned citizens like Dr. Laura Sullivan, who got together to pull all those strings together to show the tapestry of, oh my God, they're poisoning us, they're profiting off of us, and they're lying to our faces and letting people die. So we'd like to give updates on that because today is day number 3,368 in the ongoing Flint water crisis. And while there's a lot of negativity and a lot of anger and rage, as there should be, there's a lot of good news. And it's all basically the residents fighting back because right now we don't really have leadership. There's a few good ones out there that are doing the work for the people and trying to fight for us, but for the most part, we have absentee leadership. And let's talk about let's talk about leadership. If you are in charge of a city that is going through, a life-altering crisis. Yeah, not even talking about COVID. So everybody got, a little taste of that. But over 9 years of a Flint water crisis that was man-made, decisions made by the state government and the city, that allowed for our water to be switched from Detroit to the Flint water river, which was more corrosive, hadn't been used in 50 years, using our outdated, dilapidated water treatment plant, destroying our infrastructure. So now, as they put this more caustic water, because river water is more acidic, and they decided not to spend the money, the $150,000, to put in the machine that could add corrosion control to protect the water from the pipes and the pipes from the water, because obviously our infrastructure is old, like most, post-industrial cities, older cities in the United States. So the water was not treated, it was not protected, and neither were we in our bodies. And the infrastructure, and we're talking not just the service lines, we're talking the mains from the water treatment plant, the service lines that connect to the mains, and the interior plumbing, fixtures, and appliances. Basically, everything the water touched, it ate away. And so we are having consistent and constant main breaks. Now, problem being is that we tend to only hear about it when, I don't know, people lose pressure. People post, which thank you for everybody out there in social media land, that when you see water gushing out into the streets, you take pictures and you post it. Because then, after you've done all that, then all of a sudden, boom, we get a boil water advisory. And they're said, uh-oh. But then, I don't know if anybody's noticed in some of the statements the city put out, they mentioned 4 other places they're doing work for the mains. And good morning. Hey, Aaron. And so, yeah, so they're doing work in mains in more than one place because there's no way that anybody can think that there's only one main break, right? Now, the problem with main break is that one, we're paying for the water that's gushing out into the street because it's already been treated. Two, it's allowing whatever contaminants that are in the soil, on the ground, all that stuff to go into our infrastructure, into our drinking water system. Three, it's causing an eruption inside the pipes as well for pretty much everybody. There's something called backflow, and it kind of like it backwashes. So when a main ruptures, it will pull. So if you've got abandoned houses or homes that are not lived in that still have lead service lines or galvanized steel service lines in the ground, all of the gross, disgusting lead, bacteria, whatever's sitting in that line is going to get sucked out into the main distribution system. And it's going to go around the 660 miles and go into our homes, which is why it's important that we get all damaged, corroded, and unstable infrastructure out. Because just, hey, we sued, and we'll have an update on that as well. We'll have an update on the lawsuit real quick. But we have to get all of this out because every time there is a main break, which happens due to them experimenting with our water, pH changing, so it's becoming more acidic and more damaging to this delicate, barely patched together infrastructure. They're not replacing it properly. They're basically throwing asphalt over the hole, and they are just ignoring it. And there's a lot of places where valves, like by my house, are stuck open or closed, which is causing pressure issues. And when pressure drops, that allows the risk of bacteria and chlorine dropping and all that stuff. It's bad, okay? Losing pressure in a water system, which right now they shut off our water tower. So we have less pressure as it is. They are doing bacteria testing and all that stuff, which, by the way, they constantly say bacteria doesn't exist in our water. Now, I have updates from community members who have mouth infections, faces swollen up, went to the ER. Both McLaren, Hurley, everybody was sending me photos of their faces and tongues and throats swollen up because people are still brushing their teeth with the tap water. Please stop. Especially if you are immunocompromised, please stop. Please use bottled water. In my house, even if we don't have bottles sitting there, I'm like, use Listerine to rinse your mouth and wash your brush. Use hydrogen peroxide, anything. Please don't, because people are being, given antibiotics because the doctors don't know why this person has a mouth infection. I work with a lady who has her tongue, everything is swollen up, and they don't know why she has a bacterial infection in her mouth all of a sudden. But then I asked her, are you using tap water to brush your teeth? And she said, yeah, I forget to put a bottle of water there. And so please, right now, especially as they're experimenting with the water, as they're obviously not telling us everything, they lift the boil water advisory so fast afterwards when it does take time to actually grow bacteria to do the test and everything. Even if you do an at-home water test, you got to sit there and wait 24 hours to show if there's any kind of bacteria there at all. And then you got to grow it, identify all that stuff. So it takes time. And again, it's a cover-up. So then they'll say, well, we did what's right. We told you all, who knows how long after the main break actually happened. We told you all there was a boil advisory. First of all, they also forget to tell us to filter first, because when you boil the water, you need to have it to a rolling boil for at least a minute to kill the bacteria. But what that does is it releases the disinfection byproducts, the TTHMs, into steam, which you can inhale, which is a carcinogen. It's cancer-causing byproducts. But then also there's less water in the pot, so any heavy metals that are in there, they don't get taken out by the boil. So there's more. It's basically condensing it. So less water in there because you've boiled it away, and more metals. So you're supposed to filter and then boil and then cool and use it. But what they should be doing is, here's bottled water, because that's a lot of work. And also, not everybody gets told what's going on. That's the thing, is that we have to, spend money to post ads and to try to, reach out to all of our networks and tell each other, because there's a failure of leadership. There's a failure of taking care of the public health. So basically, we had boil water advisory, and it's happening because we have a city and state government that is not pushing for federal funding to replace the distribution mains and fix them properly, right? But we see there's certain areas like, Miller Road, that got new mains, and yet they put money, like the Genesee County got ARPA money to build themselves a nice new water treatment plant tower. So they got a new storage tower. All the ARPA money and all of the infrastructure money floating around out there, how much did our city administration and our state government request for distribution mains for the city? It's a question to ask. Ask your city council person. And speaking of city council people, there was controversy, and I posted about it because it's infuriating that there was there is the Black Lives Matter mural painted on the road right in front of local grocer. It's one of my favorite places to go shopping and to get me some vegetables, especially rhubarb when they have it. And they basically, the city told the residents no, that we're not going to allow this because MDOT has to approve it, the Michigan Department of Transportation. Well, funny thing, MDOT heard that and was asked the question by Ron Fonger, is that a rule? And they said absolutely not. It's not under our governance. So that's interesting. So that's great that we have Clyde Edwards, our city administrator, and our mayor's office saying that, a lie. This is a blatant lie, right? Which then ties into the main breaks. They're telling us everything is fine, that our infrastructure is not unstable. That's a lie. And then they're saying that the service line replacement and restoration program is 97% done, and we're making great progress, and we're going to get it done. That's a lie as well, because we're not making progress. We don't know numbers. You cannot say this or that. Now, what do these three things have in common besides obviously the mains and the service lines? All three have to do with public health because then Councilwoman Liddell Lewis had said in this MLive article that she could see it could be a danger to paint Black Lives Matter on the ground, to do a mural, because maybe people can't stop. Well, if that were the case, we wouldn't have lines on the highway. We wouldn't have crosswalks, because that'd be the place you'd want to stop so you don't run people over in the crosswalks. But these statements are made to defend the city administration and the mayor, just, blind loyalty or whatever it is, to defend them and say, oh, yeah, I could see it could be a problem. It could be this and this and this. So another thing our city doesn't do in our state, research, any kind of Googling, any kind of looking things up. So I said, I read that. I'm like, that's interesting. By chance, does painting a mural on a road make it more dangerous? Let me go look. And by the way, my husband lost his muffler and his brakes went out this week because of our awful roads. And you know what was not on the potholes and the chunked up roads where it took off his muffler? A mural. But that's okay. So I actually looked up a story that basically there was a research project that was put out just over a year or so ago that looked into the safety of murals. And it's called asphalt art. And it says, installing asphalt art on roads and intersections can cut crashes between motorists and other road users by a staggering 50%. Why? Because people slow down. People look at it. It changes the way the mindset goes. People actually make complete stops, which that's a good thing, right? So the only concern it raised was don't paint over crosswalks because people need to see where to walk and stop. Yes? Sure.
The mayor had a different. The first one you said was different. He said MDOT, and then you got a councilwoman out of the second ward, Liddell Lewis, say cars will be sliding. Like,
with no proof. That's the thing. So I think that there is a sense, and this is my personal opinion, this always is my personal opinion, that this city administration, because the state has sat back and allowed our pipes not to be replaced, our mains to rupture, they're allowing the city to experiment on our water by blending two different sources and making us pay for it. The state is doing nothing because this city administration is not fighting the state for anything, for any kind of responsibility. So basically, you've got a mayor that's not going toe-to-toe with the governor and not telling the governor's office, well, my city needs this. This is the mayor that let Nestle/Blue Triton not renew the contract to deliver bottled water, to donate bottled water to Flint, where people were waiting for hours. Now, that again, if people aren't waiting around the block and posting about needing bottled water, then it allows it to add to the image that everything is fine in Flint. But let's not talk about the rupturing mains and the fact that service lines still aren't replaced and yards are not restored. All of this is public health and public safety. People's sidewalks are missing chunks. People's yards, it's flooding. There's flood into people's basements because there's these big sinkholes because it's not been restored. People's homes still haven't been fixed. If the basement walls, things had to be changed and moved and everything. So then they're talking about roads and public health and safety. We can't put a mural that supports racial justice on the ground. And then the mayor and his administrator said, well, we did the Juneteenth thing, so that's good enough. Oh my God. Well, we did this, we did this parade, and so that's all you need for the year. We got June 19th. We got Juneteenth. So racial justice is all good, right? We don't need that mural that local artists are putting forth to support, marginalized people. And, we don't need to put that message out. So again, it's the messaging and the imagery. But then again, it's the same mayor and city administration that said, well, we did some of the lines. That's good enough. We don't need to do all of them. Well, we let you know about one of the main breaks or two of the main breaks. That's good enough. And that's the way it's been. However, it's frustrating to me when they're not worried about the people's public health, the health of the people with the water and the quality of water and getting their lives restored and making their homes safe to live in inside and out. But they're worried about, they throw out this random, say this concern saying, oh, well, there's a safety that people are going to slide and crash and explode. I don't know, with zero evidence. So don't act like you care about public health and safety because of a road mural when you do not care that we have unknown number of lead and galvanized steel service lines in the ground. We have just an unstable infrastructure that's constantly rupturing, and you're not alerting to people to all of the main breaks, just the ones where people post about it and you have to and you're forced to do it. Do not fake and act like you care about public health because of a road mural that supports racial justice and it's unsafe to you. First of all, Google. 5 seconds of Google. That's all it took me to do here, to look at this study. And they watched it, and it's actually considered traffic calming art. And it actually exists. And it talks about colorful curb murals, street murals, all of this stuff, and all these other designs. And it said not only did the project slash crashes involving vulnerable road users in half, they also lessened injury-causing crashes by an average of 37% and cut overall crashes by 17%. Drivers even yielded to pedestrians in colorful crosswalks 27% more often. So, where's the danger? Where's the danger? Oh, the danger is not for the residents and the drivers, because there's studies that prove what you said was false. But there's a danger in posting something about Black Lives Matter and racial justice. Because why? Because it would show that there's still a problem. And it's all down to imagery. If you do a mural saying that, there is no racial justice at this point, we are still fighting to, for equality. Women don't have rights in this country. All of these things. If you're Black or brown or poor, you just do not matter. So you do a beautiful mural. Local artists come together, community members come together to do something to say, hey, Black Lives Matter, people's lives matter. These humans that are being, treated like disposable people, their lives matter. That's a no-no, because that's pointing out that there's still a problem and that people care. You let the donations for the water pods and the 3 help centers, you let them close because that still leaves the impression that there's something wrong with our water, because it is. And, you're going to say, well, we're doing this because we're worrying about protecting public health. Really? So you're testing bacteria in people's homes? Because there's also that with the main break. I don't see any kind of reports that they've gone to people's homes to make sure that bacteria is not growing in there. Because again, this week alone, because I'm also a social worker, mental health, and helping folks get their disability benefits and everything like that. So I work with homeless people. I work with some of our most vulnerable folks. And they're coming back with me with saying, hey, I'm in the hospital right now. Here's pictures of my face, mouth. Here's this. And I have coworkers telling me the same thing. I got a text last night when we were on I'm a mentor for Flint Public Health Youth Academy. So again, don't talk about, public health when you've got nothing to do with it, when kids can tell you more and what you're doing wrong. They did some water testing in their camp this past week and found all kind of things that shouldn't be in the water. Bacteria based. Let's just put it that way. Oh yeah. Children, kids. Oh yeah. So we did a live stream last night to talk about, the first week of the camp and all the things that they're learning. Which is horrific because a lot of these kids, this has been almost their whole life. And so we've got that, but I don't see the city going out there testing for E. coli, which is a common bacteria, but a very sickening and deadly one. I don't see them going out there testing for Legionella in people's homes because I'm not getting sick at the water treatment plant. I'm getting sick in my home. These people are getting sick in their homes. But last night during the show, I got a text from a Flint mom, and let me read it word for word. My 17-year-old just had his gallbladder removed. The surgeon said his gallbladder was the worst he has ever seen, and his liver and pancreas are like those of a 60 to 70-year-old. Can the water do this? So tell me why I'm not supposed to lose my mind when I get these, which happens a lot. It happens a lot. We've had a lot of folks with gallbladder issues and getting their gallbladders removed in Flint because your gallbladder needs water to function and to clear out the bile and to produce new bile. And it's kind of like a filter. So what happens when you put heavy metals and all kind of things like that into a filter? Yeah, it changes how it actually functions. It changes how your gastrointestinal system functions. And I've had to deal with the same thing, my liver being swollen, having to check my pancreas, looking at my numbers being off, that I have a liver injury and all this stuff has been an ongoing thing. Because, when you drink water that's full of contaminants, your body says what's going on. And when it's trying to filter things out that aren't designed to go through it, bad things happen. This child will never be able to eat the same. This child has to rearrange his whole life. This mother has to completely reset everything. The same thing with my youngest and myself, because out of nowhere, I went from having no food allergies to being allergic to gluten, dairy, nuts, egg whites, some nightshades, and NSAIDs, which are anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen. So I'm allergic to those. Those cause really bad reactions. Some are I need an EpiPen, and some are inflammatory, and some are very yucky gastro problems. I went my entire 30-some years up to that point with no food allergy. I could eat everything. It was great. Not that it wasn't good for me, but I did it. So then I had to learn how to cook like I'm not busy enough. I worked 2 jobs, got 3 kids and a husband, 4 kids, if you count that, plus pets and a life and house falling down and all that stuff because water keeps eating through the lines. And, so we have all this. And now mom's got to learn. And also, allergen friendly foods it's expensive. It's very expensive. So now you're costing more money. Why? But I don't see our mayor, and I don't see city, not all of our city council folks. I don't see our city administration getting out there being like, hey, we have an increase of cancer. We have an increase of gastro problems. We have children having emergency surgeries to have their gallbladders removed. We have kids with these high levels of autism now and ADHD and learning disabilities. We need to fight for public health, and we need to fight for reparations, and we need to fight for restorative services to our homes, our bodies, and our lives. Nope. It's shut up, pretend everything's fine, and go along to get along. And that is not what I want in my elected officials. I don't like liars. I will go to Google and find things to call you out because you are hurting people. You are hurting innocent people because people trust you. Shame on you for getting up there saying, I worry about public health. I worry about people crashing because somebody wrote the letters Black Lives Matter on a road. It's a danger. MDOT said we couldn't when MDOT said, no, we did not say that. Here's the thing. We have to start holding these elected officials accountable. We have to start calling out our lies. And yes, I get it. I don't have a lot of friends because of this. I don't, I lost friends. People don't like me because I'm telling the truth and blah, blah, blah. I get it. I don't care. Because the people I care about are the people that are texting me scared. What do? How do I protect my kids? How do I protect myself? They lied to me because that was me. That's me still. And I'm sick of the lies. And I'm sick of them trying to pretend. Because again, at the end of the day, all of these things are just PR stunts to get them reelected, to get them moving up the political chain, failing upwards. Because what's our state senator? What's our city council person? What's our state representative? What are these people doing for us? What are these folks doing for us? But we're their boss. my taxes, they pay their salaries. So again, we have to remember that we are their bosses. They are responsible to us. And if they're going to talk about public health, come some facts. Because that is the one thing that we learned. One of the many, many things we've learned in the Flint water crisis is we have to be our own experts. Because we can't trust these so-called experts or our elected officials to do what's right by us. And maybe if you want to say, hey, I trust people and I don't think they're doing bad things on purpose, great. Have that positive mindset, but realize maybe they're not going off of the right information, or any in this case. So yeah, again, when you hear these officials say these things, and I'm always posting links. That's the thing about me. I will always post links and be like, hey, they said this. They said, painting on the road is going to cause, which honestly I think they would just probably protect the road more to, have added, our crumbling roads as they are. But hey, this, painting a mural on the ground is, hold on, let me get to it. Let me see. Let me open my windows. I'm trying to be more professional here. No. No, and honestly, I could not do this without you, Mick. I could not. I really could not do this without you. And these are such important things. Oh, there's 14 comments. I'm so bad. Oh no, muting me. Did you see that? I heard me. Okay. But my kneecap is dislocated. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Cynthia Watkins, one of my, really good friends, and she's also worked with me on public health campaigns for environmental literacy in Flint. She's going through cancer again. I went through cancer in 2021, 22. Our bodies act differently. So what I want to see, the first time I spoke at city council was January of 2015, and I was terrified. But what I asked for then was an epidemiological study, meaning a health study, but also a study to go along with test what's in our water, all of the contaminants in our water, not just the easy ones, all of the things that pose a threat to our health. And there's a lot of things, the bacteria, and there's other things in the water that are not human pathogens or a danger to humans. When we had our water tested, they had kennel cough, like the bacteria's kennel cough. I'm like, okay, so it's a danger to my dogs. Great. But so to test all the contaminants, but also test our health, test our hair, our toenails, our blood, urine, all of the things, tissue. But also we need geneticists in here, because the toxicologists and the geneticists that I've spoken with say that, we have like 30,000, markers in our DNA, right? That tell our body how to run and function and all that. Contaminants like heavy metals, like lead, like bacteria, like disinfection byproducts, these chemicals change the way our immune system works, our gastro system, our neurological system. One, if you put heavy metals in an electrical system, that's why people are having seizures, strokes, things like that, blood pressure issues. It does damage to the kidneys, miscarriages. These, you put metals in an electrical system, it's going to cause a short. That's what my neurologist told me. But then also, it flips switches on in your DNA. That's things that should be on are flipped off. Things that are off should be flipped on. So we could actually get help in here if we would have these, officials working with us. Sure. Yes. I've said before that it is almost like I'm paying a hitman to kill me, but also to destroy my house. So I'm paying really like the highest rates in the United States for water that is wrecking my pipes. Because if it's wrecking our infrastructure outside, if it's wrecking the distribution mains and causing these eruptions, and it's corroding these pipes, it's corroding our faucets, fixtures, appliances, washers, dryers, dishwashers, water heaters, especially. We've had like 5 since 2014. 5? Yes, my God. So it's destroying all that. It's also our bodies, our teeth. In 6 months, I just had 11 cavities pop up. I have 11 fillings. I got to go Monday to get more. So, and the thing is I had really good dental hygiene and health all the way until my late 30s when this all started. And all of a sudden, 2016, I'm popping having, 16, 17 cavities. I'm like, where did that come from? I was giving a speech. The Reverend Jesse Jackson Rainbow Push Coalition had me speak at the annual women's convention, the International Women's Convention. And I was talking about what women in Flint were going through, and mothers and our children and grandmothers and sisters and all that stuff, talking about what we're going through. And in the middle of it, my tooth crumbled in my mouth and I had blood run down my face. There were thousands of people watching me, and it was being live streamed across the country or the world. And I'm like, well, that's embarrassing. I'm gross. And yeah, I said, also, our teeth are falling out of our heads. And that tooth couldn't be salvaged. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm missing, fine. And I've worked really hard to take care of my teeth. I actually have a credit card that I take out for dental care. And I actually went, a few years ago, I had to go to Matamoros, so not Resort Town, Mexico, with my friend Wani Oliveras, because that's where I could go to afford dental care to get things, yeah, yeah. Drove to Mexico mhm, to get fillings and to look at an implant and be able to afford it. Yeah. Yeah, because go America, right? So, because we don't take it's profit over people. So again, and I'm saying all this stuff, which is frustrating, and I'm angry, and we all are angry. But this is not where we should feel helpless. This is not where we should give up. This is not where we should fight each other, right? There are people that are in charge right now that could absolutely change this. There are people that could actually push for public health protection, funding, money. But no, let's go ahead and fight this this mural that supports racial justice and proves that there's still racial injustice, because there is. Which they're kind of continuing the systemic racism by just saying, no, you painted it once, it's good enough, and we have Juneteenth. Y'all have Juneteenth, that's good enough. And surprised, I mean, it wasn't even white folks saying that. I mean, honestly, like that was, I mean, seriously, like, and I mean, look at me, I'm pale as hell, but I'm just sitting here like, yo, ah, yeah, right, yeah,
Black police chief, black city administrator, majority black council, black state rep.
what is going on? Don't don't sell out your own people, and I mean that race, gender, and residency. You live in Flint, or some of you do. What? I love cracking Mickey up. But no, some of you do, some of you don't. But you like telling, Flint residents what to do and what they can't do. And telling them, again, hey, we did this. You had that Juneteenth thing, remember? So you hold that all year. That means racism is over. Because we're worried about public health in this street. We're worried about this street more than you. No, you ain't. And guaranteed, if it wasn't close to downtown, they wouldn't be saying nothing. Because they're spending all this ARPA money on replacing bricks. Really? Well, are you replacing the pipes while you're doing this? Because it didn't look like it. You replacing the mains while you're doing this? Because it don't look like it. You helping them restaurants out by giving them slightly better water so they can not, poison their constituents and not have to pay for these big expensive filtration systems? No, you're not. Stop acting like you care about public health. Stop acting like I did the one thing that one time and it's good enough. But that's what's happened to us this entire crisis. The state's like, hey, we did this for you. We had pods for a minute. It's good enough. You should be worshiping us. Be grateful for this little tiny fleck that we gave you. We don't care that you're dying. Hey, racial injustice is still obvious, and we're, by making this decision, we're continuing the cycle. But, we let you have it before. We let you paint it that one time when it was big in the news, so we could look cool too. And so we could say, hey, we made Juneteenth a holiday. Yeah, well, you know what? Great. A little late. And also, then you're saying, okay, we support racial justice, and then no, you can't do this mural because people are going to crash and whatever. Well, how many crashes did you do research to see how many crashes there were since the mural's been up since 2020? Hello? Where do you get your facts? And I say this.
We can go right there. Just what's that? Living Cotton Dort Highway.
Yeah.
Which one you want to go? Court Street and Dort Highway. And
I
don't see no murals right there, but I see accidents
all the time.
To the studio.
Right, all the time. Oh, well, I was on Ballinger Highway and right before Flushing, and there was a 3-car pileup a couple days ago, and I'm like, there's no mural there. There's no mural there. But then what's worse is it's when I looked up these studies, only took me a second to see that one, it doesn't cause accidents. It actually reduces them. So, okay, if you care about public health, even if you don't want to support racial justice, which obviously it does not seem like you want to, because you said, hey, I gave you this one thing that one time, good enough, be happy with it. You know what? It would be interesting to say we care about public health, so we're going to put the mural in to reduce accidents because this study proves that it reduces them by up to 50%. My God, it actually makes people drive better, slow down to see what's going on. And people ain't using it like ice to slide through. I mean, that's not how paint works. Otherwise, it's the highway. We save that sliding through everything for heavy rains. Maine breaks as they flood the streets and, people hydroplane. And, whenever there's slightly cold, icy weather, rainy weather, or just because it's Michigan drivers. But also, the damage to my husband's vehicle this week was not done by a mural. The muffler being ripped off and his brakes going out while hitting this giant chunk hole and bottoming his car out. And he drives a boat, man, so it should be indestructible. But anyhow, that all aside, if you care about public health, why ain't you addressing that? Why is it only downtown that's your concern? And we all know the answers. Come on, profit over people. Shut up, people. Take the crumbs we gave you. So it's like if our city administration and our mayor were like, hey, so we're heart surgeons. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go open you up and we're going to fix, I don't know, you got 4 blocked valves. I mean, yeah, I could totally die. It's quadruple bypass. But you know what? That's a lot of effort. And by God, that's going to cost money. Yeah, we'll do like maybe 2 of them and then maybe stitch you back up and send you on your way. You're fine. And hey, don't you be complaining when you drop dead of a heart attack because the other blocked arteries. Don't you be complaining because we did them 2 for you that one time. It was a favor. Even though you're paying the surgeon to do it. It's a favor to you. Same thing with, our elected officials. We're paying you to do this. Don't you be acting like, hey, we gave you that one time. And the thing is they are so, in my personal opinion, Melissa Mays, this is, what are you fighting for? Or, and this is our opinion, nobody else's, that they are so insulated because who do we go to if our city government is not working for us? Our state government. Oh, crap. The mayor's married to our state rep. Okay, well, great. And then we go up the line to what? The attorney general? Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one that tossed all the criminal charges in the garbage and that appointed somebody who wasn't even working as an attorney at the time and who had never once litigated a criminal case through trial. Real good choice. So you fail upwards. Hey, but she didn't get fired. She could have been fired for doing a terrible job and getting the cases tossed out. But she failed upwards, like these people often do, and got promoted after losing all of our criminal cases. Yeah, she got promoted. Attorney General Nessel, promoted. So she's, an assistant AG, deputy AG now. Because, the goal is to get Flint to be swept under the rug.
Hold on. I can't let you off the hook with that. You said she failed and got a
promotion. Yeah.
Somebody I'm in the wrong business.
I know. The whole thing, having a soul and a conscience really is holding me back from moving up the ladder somewhere to where if I inflict harm on people, I get a bonus. Right? Like, I mean, it's insane. It's to dehumanize other people and to get rewarded for it. So that's what we got. So who we going up to? So who we going to go complain to? Now, Flint helped the rest of the country get this infrastructure bill. How much money did our mayor and city administration, our state, go get out of that? How much money are we getting from that? Because we have a lot of infrastructure problems still. Our mains, 660 miles, need to be right-sized. And they need to be replaced. Because, again, for some reason, they were just like, oh, lead's the only problem. Wrong. Lead is not the worst or most deadly contaminant in our water. Our water is unstable. We've got disinfection byproduct issues. And by the way, everybody, be heads up because there's going to be a chlorine burnout. And what that means is that once they get this stupid, these main breaks addressed, they're going to have to overdose the chlorine that got lost out in the, the eruptions and the low things. And so what they do is they overdose the chlorine to catch up to the bacteria that's growing in our homes. But they're not testing our homes. Again, they're testing at the water treatment plant and at whatever points that they've picked that are not our homes. If they cared, they'd be replacing these mains, not patching them up, not throwing asphalt on them, not slapping a Band-Aid on them. And it's not even like a Band-Aid. It's, it's basically some Scotch tape and some tissue is what's holding our mains together. I mean, that's what it seems like.
How are you keeping your sanity?
How am I keeping my sanity?
To these meetings. What you just said, I cannot let you, what you just said, because I'm slow. I need to get it. You just said we finna have a chlorine
burnout.
Mm-hmm. And usually when you hear word burnout,
it's bad. Yeah. So that's also how they pass the quarterly disinfection byproduct test. Now remember, TTHMs, total trihalomethanes, which is chlorine disinfection byproducts. Now, chlorine itself is not bad. When you have it in a stable system, there's proper corrosion control, and the water is stable. Then you can keep a stable level of chlorine to kill the bacteria in the water. But when we smell bleach coming through our water, and that's one of the reasons I knew we had a main break, because all of a sudden my water wasn't burning my eyes. I'm like, oh, we have no chlorine in the water because it's rupturing out into the streets, and obviously no water pressure. But that aside, when chlorine interacts with volatile organic compounds, which things like could be falling into the pipes from the rupturing garbage that we're having, out into the streets because it's letting the good water out and then the yuck in. When chlorine does its job, like when you go into a swimming pool and you smell the bleach smell, that's chlorine interacting with things like pee, sweat, and doing its job and killing bacteria to keep it safe, right? So that smell is not chlorine, it's chlorine that's done its job. The chlorine is now gone, and the byproduct is this gas that can cause neurological damage, gastrointestinal damage, cancers, you name it. So this is total trihalomethanes, and that's under the disinfection byproduct testing that they have to do every quarter. This was our first Safe Drinking Water Act violation that they were forced to report in January of 2015.
I got one question
Shoot.
for you, and it said those with that allergy to chlorine are gonna be in trouble.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because here's the thing. We've had several doctors tell us that once your body has been poisoned, it has, and when if it's had an interaction to, something bad, right? Like to something that's you're not supposed to, it's going to react every time you get close to it. Like there are people that were like, yeah, if I drank, tap water by accident afterwards, I got a stomach ache, or my body, I got rashes, things like that. Because again, when you have rashes, headaches, stomach aches, things like that, that's your body saying, yo, no, 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 something is wrong. Get this away from me. So here's the thing. Once we lose, and there's a bacterial problem, we lose chlorine, there's a bacterial problem, they try to overdose it to catch up. Also, there's something called that's now become industry-wide where they call it chlorine burnout. There are other cities that are using chloramines to save money and to try to dodge these quarterly disinfection byproduct tests. So instead of chlorine, they're using chloramines, which is a mix of chlorine and ammonia.
Hold up. For the slow people like me,
I got you.
Run that back by me again. You said they mixing
chlorine and ammonia, which anybody knows anything about the military and like mustard gas and whatnot, it's bad. But they're using it in other cities. They tried to use it in Flint, and the only reason they could not get chloramines passed is because we have so many people on dialysis in Flint, and it would kill them. So they use this cheating method. So they switched to chloramines. But the thing is chloramines do not disinfect as well as chlorine does. And it actually stays in your water longer. So people who are like, oh, chloramines, we need chloramines. No, we don't. It's a cheap way to get around a test so they don't violate the Safe Drinking Water Act and have to address it. So since Flint could not get it approved because we have a lot of people that are ill and have kidney problems here now, what they'll do is when it comes time to do the total trial method, the quarterly test, they'll shut off the chlorine or reduce it to next to nothing just before the test. So they'll pass the test. But then, now you've got bacteria and other problems running rampant. So then they overdose the chlorine.
God, because I'm looking at this, what Miss Karen Malone said. She said, all we smell on the east side is rotten eggs.
Yes, that's sulfur, babe. That's, I'm not sorry, babe, not to be disrespected. That's just, that's sulfur. And one of the things I can give off that rotten egg, because I get that too. And I'm on the west side, and it's nasty. And I always do the thing, it must be my drains. Let me go ahead and pour some bleach down and see if it's like in my drains. No, let me try Drano. Let me clean. It's not us. No, it's not us. It's rotting infrastructure, and it's treated water that is not being treated properly, and it's being blended. Yet again, our water was getting somewhat stabilized up until about 2020 because lead service lines were being replaced. Work was being done. We had a director of public works, and then 2020 came along. And the mayor decided to stop all construction, all lead service line and galvanized steel replacement and restoration. He said because of COVID. I'm not sure why the yards, it's because there was no records, to be honest with you. That's what we're dealing with in court right now. There's no records. They didn't look at anything and just whatever. But that's a different story. So then in 2021, So we made it. So our lawsuit, the Safe Drinking Water Act lawsuit with the Natural Resources Defense Council, NRDC, and ACLU of Michigan, the one that's replacing the pipes, that kept the pods open as long as possible, that, kept forced the testing. That's what's giving us the free water test. Please, everybody, please go to City Hall and get your water tests. And if you don't have transportation, please call the city's public health navigator program at 810-410-2020 and ask them to deliver you, because everybody should be changing their filter cartridges after every boil water advisory, main break, and all that stuff. They should be changing them because bacteria can grow on the filter cartridges if they're not flushed properly or if they're blocked. Okay, so they can grow. Yeah. That's why filters are a temporary. What would, the permanent fix is super, super easy. It's replace the damage that you did. Replace the mains, replace the service lines, all of them, replace the interior plumbing, fixtures, and appliances. And that would have been, it was estimated in 2015 that it would have been like $1.5 billion, right?
What?
To replace the entire infrastructure. Now, it would be less if they would have right-sized the city and made sure we had the right size of mains, that there weren't completely houseless streets with mains running down it, that with service lines attached. It would be less to right size. And it would have been smart, because then it wouldn't take a week from the water to get from the water treatment plant over to the west side where I'm at. And during that week of traveling through destroyed mains, infrastructure ruptures, all this great stuff, you can imagine what happens. So yeah, and the thing is, it's such common sense, and that's a mess to me. But yet they can spend tens of millions of our tax dollars to defend themselves in court for not doing their jobs, defend themselves in court to not go to jail, to not go.
Hold up, what minute? They is spent. Can you say that again for the people?
Tens upon tens of millions of dollars to defend themselves in court, even after Attorney General Nessel got in office and said she wants to, wrap up these lawsuits and everything, and she wants to, get justice for Flint residents. That's the, campaign slogan. Heavy on the eye roll there. She continued to still fight us in court. The Michigan Supreme Court, the federal Supreme, or the U.S. Supreme Court, who then tossed it back and said, "State of Michigan, we're not even going to listen to your things. Give the people of Flint justice, and give them their day in court. We're not even going to listen." So, yeah. So here's the thing: separating the people, telling the residents everything's fine, telling the outside world that everything is fine, doing the same PR stunt, repeating these same numbers. Again, I go back to the Scripps investigative pieces that shows that there's no numbers, that the mayor is, he's saying we're 97% done, 95% done, 90% done. There's no numbers on that because we still don't know how many houses need to be finished, right? As for the service lines. And again, the service line is the only one piece of the puzzle. The only reason we got service lines is because our outdated federal Safe Drinking Water Act covers lead when it goes out of compliance. And in order to comply, you have to replace the lead and galvanized steel service lines, right? So that's why the pipes. But that's not it. That's not the only thing. You get a clean straw going to your house, that doesn't fix the rupturing mains that are contaminating your water. And then your interior plumbing, that is also contaminating your water. So everybody needs to be safe. Just because you have a service line replacement, or God forbid your water is clear, please do not listen to these elected officials that have zero basis in public health. They're just spewing out information like, paint on the road causes you to crash, spewing out their opinions and telling you what to do. Like the mayor in front of me said people are just using filters for comfort, and I couldn't hit anybody. And I try to act like a civilized person. So how do I keep my sanity? It's a lot of meditating and a lot of video games and a lot of looking at my kids going, I can't go to prison. And I'm not going to go to prison for somebody like this. I got food allergies. They ain't going to be able to take care of me. And I look super fat and orange. So I just keep reminding myself these things, and he's not worth it. So yes, Jeff just put, it's the equivalent of using a dirty needle to take an insulin shot. Yeah, your medicine's in there, but you got a dirty needle going into you. And the funny part about it is this insulin that we're getting is contaminated from the get, because this mayor said, we got to help the county out with the bonds they have to pay for the Carragandi Water Authority, which is now rebranded to Genesee County Drain Commission Water, their water, Genesee County Water, right? But it's the KWA. It's the more privatized pipeline, so Wall Street can get their money. because the one thing that they're not doing is skipping them bond payments. And so now we're using this constant secondary system that nobody else is using, and they're blending it, which every expert would say no. When it came up to have the water switched, former Mayor Dr. Karen Weaver said no because she listened to the water experts, the plumbers, she listened to the doctors. Our infrastructure is far too crumbled, weakened by the water switch and the untreated water and the rupturing mains and getting the service lines replaced. All of this makes our infrastructure very delicate. So if you're going to do something like switch the water, like in 2015, it's going to cause a problem. Because what happened in 2014, April 25th, 2014, they switched our water source and it destroyed our already aging infrastructure. And people died. So we pushed, and in January 2016, the EPA put an emergency order in saying, you are not allowed to switch the water source without proper testing, approval, making sure it's safe, because that was not done in 2014. Has anybody seen the water tests for 2014? Well, because blending is not covered under the Safe Drinking Water Act, this mayor decided it's a good idea for us to pay for 2 water systems because, hey, we're already paying the highest water bills in the United States. This mayor decided let's blend because it's a loophole. Once again, the city found a loophole. Could they put the effort in to fix it? No, but they sure can. They sure can find loopholes and cutting corners and all this stuff. So so they're blending 2 different water sources. Yes, they both come from Lake Huron, and that's wonderful, except for the fact that the Detroit or Gliwa water system is treated at the source and pumped clean water to us, which is a safe way to go. The Genesee County water is untreated water that gets to go 70 miles, not being treated, to their water treatment plant, and their system has had multiple. They've had violations, not enough orthophosphates and corrosion control. People in Grand Blanc and all around the county that got their water switched, 1, didn't know, and 2, started seeing yellow and white water and all that stuff because water switches stir up what's in your aging infrastructure. Any kind of things. Weather changes the pH in the water system. Anything, heavy trucks, construction, all this stuff, it shakes the entire system. And just because you're on one side of town, don't think it's not hitting you because of something that happened on the other side. Because this whole 660 miles of aging infrastructure with this blended mess going through it is connected. It's all connected. So just heads up there. Don't think you're safe because you're in one area. We had that, yes.
From this one, said, how are all these mains busting in the summer?
Hot water. So when the air, water, weather heats up, the particles, the contaminants, good, bad particles, they vibrate at a higher, faster level, right? Things will, if you look at a door or even like our human body, it swells, contracts. So when you have, especially when you got messy water with, the planet's being angry at us, as it should be, the Mother Nature should be furious of what we've done to the planet, with it being super hot one day and then super cold and rainy the next, expand, contract. But then hot heat makes the contaminants do this. So you're going to have weak spots in our infrastructure, which is, some people's service lines, some people's interior plumbing, but our distribution mains that are not being replaced and not being properly managed, maintained, or, treated properly, rupture. And because it's basically you have all that pressure, plus you have a pressure drop, and they're trying to basically throw more chemicals in, which is more caustic and more acidic and more corrosive. And so then you get what we've got now. Like, basically, it's like the Bellagio out there. You just got, like, that. But what's not funny is them's our dollars. Like, somebody had said upwards of 60% of the treated water that we're paying for is being lost due to valve, line, and main breaks and leaks. So that's awesome. Not to mention the flooding that happens, the property damage that, the city and state aren't touching. But again, walking around acting like Flint's a success story and that Flint doesn't exist. That's another thing that gets me. The Flint water crisis ended in 2016. Excuse me? No. So then I get to spend time, and I know I don't have to, but I spend time trying to educate folks, being like, nah, that's not accurate. And then I also offer to, send my tap water unfiltered to whoever wants it. because I've done it before. I've gone and given speeches across the country where I've brought a case of my, tap water, and I've got video showing it came right from my tap. There's floaties in it. I opened the cap. I will not let anybody drink it because I'm not, even though I'm tempted, but I let them smell. Just smell it. Just look at everything that's settling in the bottom. And people are disgusted. So, this is what's happening. When you have a crumbling infrastructure, and then you throw in, fluctuating, because it's blended, and nobody will even give us the specs on the valve that's supposed to be controlling how much. They were supposed to be getting only 5% KWA or Genesee County water, 95%. It's a valve and it's moving water. And who's in control of that? Do we even have a director of public works? Oh, that's Clyde Edwards, isn't it? Like right now, he's in place because Mike Brown left, because the man's a scientist and just wanted to give clean water, and that was not what was happening. And again, people leave. People who maybe want to do well, maybe want to do their job, maybe want to protect residents, they don't last long up in here, in these positions, because it seems that the only thing that matters to this administration, city, county, state, these elected officials, is that Flint shuts up. Mm-hmm. Because, again, I will repeat this every chance I get. I was told in 2016 at our state house that, well, Miss Mays, if we fix Flint, then we're going to have to fix every poison city. Again, yeah, it's your job. How about number one, you stop poisoning your cities? Number two, fix it. Fix what you did. And again, going back to the distribution mains, the service line replacement program that was supposed to be done in 2023 and was only one piece of the puzzle. It was not completing and fixing anything. Former Mayor Dr. Karen Weaver called it Fast Start. Fast Start program. Start meaning beginning, not fast fix. Fast start, meaning let's get this going, let's get this solution. And then, again, our lead levels were dropping, the water was kind of starting to stabilize, that kind of thing. But then, no, now we've got, fast destroy, fast shut up, fast die and go away, whatever you want to call it, but it's a screeching halt. However, the positive is that there's people on here. Why would they lift the water advisory? Yeah, because that means people will be talking, and people will be saying, I've got no water, or I've got to boil it, and it makes the news, barely. And then people will know there's still a problem. So if you tell people there's no problem, everything's fine, people are going to go back, because at the end of the day, none of us want to be living in a problem. I like to go back to living with a crisis being my kids breaking stuff, my car breaking down, my heart, like all this stuff, my cat stepping on me, that, like things, whatever. But no, we have to constantly live in crisis, which, by the way, let's not even get into the layered trauma. We'll have another episode on that, because, again, I work in mental health, and we're defunded, and we need it in Flint so bad, because this is an ongoing trauma. And I hate the word water. And it's in my group name. It's because this is not the way things are supposed to be run. In no way, shape, or form. This is an example. Flint, we had the ability, we had the progress. We had the fight. We had the leadership with problems, because everybody's going to have problems with leadership. We had progress to where we in Flint could be the example of what happens when government makes very bad decisions and lets people die, but the people push back, fight back, become educated, and don't let up until we get fixed and fixed right. So we should have been the example for everything getting fixed right. But instead, we're the example of failing upwards. I got 60 seconds. All right. So, okay. All of this aside, and me having my rant and talking about it, please, 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 please. So here's some phone numbers real quick. We're going to write them down. I'll post them in the comments too. Please get your water. If you're using the filters, please get your cartridges changed. You have to change them after every time something ruptures, right? 810-410-2020. You call the Flint Public Health Navigators and you get filters, but also ask for a water test. A lead and copper water test. Please have it delivered, picked up, or you can go to City Hall between 9 and 4 and go get these things. Please do them. 2 free tests every 6 months. Please go get this done. Please. Okay? Please take care of yourself. And then as for the service line replacement, if you have not had your service line inspected, replaced, or your property restored, please call 810-410-1133 and then email gettheleadout@cityofflint.com and copy that email to flintpipereplacement@gmail.com. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back.